Hello, my name is Adriano Bosoni and I am RANE's Director of Analysis. And today I will be sharing with you a quick take on the war in Ukraine. In recent days, there has been an intensification of diplomatic activity in order to try to find a way to end the war. In late November, international media leaked a plan allegedly written by the United States and Russia that included significant concessions for Russia, which of course Ukraine found very, very difficult to accept, which meant that the Ukrainians then negotiated with the United States on an updated version of the peace plan, which then an American delegation sent to Moscow. Moscow rejected most of the points in that updated version. While the intensification of diplomatic activity in itself is quite important because it means that at least there is a conversation to try to end the war, there are very important obstacles that will continue to delay an agreement. The first one is that of territorial concessions. Russia is demanding to control all of Ukraine's eastern region of Donbas, even those territories that are still under Ukrainian control. And of course, this is unacceptable for Ukraine, which has been fighting for almost 4 years to protect those territories, and they don't want to just give it up in order to reach peace. Then there is the issue of security guarantees. Russia is pushing for a Ukraine that is militarily weak, that doesn't host any foreign troops in its territory, that doesn't aspire to join NATO. In other words, a Ukraine that would find it very hard to protect itself if there was another Russian invasion. And of course, Ukraine wants very strong guarantees, even if it understands that it will not join NATO in the foreseeable future. It wants very strong Western guarantees that there will be protection if the Russians decide to reinvade in the future. Then there is a third obstacle, which is not as important as the other two, but it has come to the forefront in recent days, which is the issue of the Russian frozen assets that currently the European Union is holding, and whether or not some of the money should go back to Russia, some of the money should be sent to Ukraine in order to help with the reconstruction effort. So in recent days, there has been a lot of debate about what to do with that money. Against this backdrop, RANE believes that in the next few weeks, the peace process will continue. There will be meetings, there will be proposals, there will be negotiations, primarily because Russia and Ukraine want to keep the process alive to avoid being threatened by the United States. We saw how earlier in the year, when the United States thought that Ukraine was stalling, they temporarily suspended military and intelligence aid for Ukraine. And then we saw more recently, when the United States accused Russia of stalling, how they imposed sanctions on Russia's oil sector. So Moscow and Kyiv want to keep the diplomatic process alive, if only to keep the United States on their side. But while Moscow and Kyiv still think that this is not the right time to make meaningful concessions, this means that we will probably not see a breakthrough. We will probably not see the two sides coming close to the point where they can reach a deal. So we will see negotiations, but we will probably not see progress. There are other scenarios, lower probability scenarios, that there is a sudden breakthrough because Russia accepts not to control all of the Donbas, or because Ukraine accepts to give up a lot of land in that area, because they reach some security framework that is acceptable to Ukraine and to Russia, because they agree on what to do with the money, with sanctions, and with other things. But this is a low probability scenario at this point. And then, of course, there is a low probability, high impact scenario in which the negotiations just collapse. The Russians or the Ukrainians walk away from the negotiation table, which would irritate the United States very much and would take the war to a different stage, but we are not quite there yet. So to make a long story short, RANE's take for the evolution of the diplomatic efforts in Ukraine is that the negotiations will continue, but we do not expect any meaningful developments over the next few weeks.